to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It says that, but I
For the public comment session, we're going to have Scott go first, then Stuart. And then there'll be regular order. Scott?
Okay. So this is basically an amendment to the contract for the baseball, new baseball league coming in, 518 velocity. I'm sure you guys have a chance to look at the contract. What we needed is estimates on what we were actually going to be putting in as far as material into the field. Going more about back to me. And before I do get into this, I know that numbers really do seem staggering when you're talking about doing the park plans. I just have a question, before I start this. How much money do we have in our park plans funds where we would actually be pulling this money from?
It's like $500,000.
400,000.
Yeah, 4 or 500,000.
Okay, how much of that money has been spent in the last 5 years?
300,000, I think.
So and how much money is contributed to that account?
We get about 80,000.
About $80,000 a year. Okay, so that being said, just before I know, because a lot of times you throw numbers out and it stops your heart. Okay, so we went ahead and we did he did 3 estimates. This is all coming from Joey Moore. For a turf game mound, which I explained before, is a mound that would be permanent forever. We never have to do any grading, no more clay on the field. That could run from 3 different estimates, the low end of $5,000 to the upper end of $18,000. These things weigh like 800 pounds. They have to be put in by pieces and they become permanent. The netting that would have to go around along with poles would probably come around $3,000. Chain link fence for the backstop and the backstop poles. He has 160 linear feet at $3,000. $1,000 to $3,000, and honestly, I would go on the upper end of every one of these estimates because I just seem to think that everything's always comes over the estimates. Home plate, the tarp for the home plate cover, he has 1,500.
What was the chain link, the backstop? What was that?
Correct, yeah, the backstop, and that doesn't include the posts. So I don't know if we're going to use the posts that are still there or add to them.
What was that costing?
That was 1,000 to 3,000.
What?
For chain link fencing, 160 linear feet of chain link
That's
fencing.
not installed.
Maybe it includes the post, that's what I'm thinking, it might be, let you look it up here, I have it on.
I don't know, chain
Where's that
link
supposed to
fence-
go? $50.
This is the backstop. This is the backstop is totally gone. There's no netting on top.
There's no netting. There's-
But that would all have to be, I don't think the netting goes along the whole thing, it have to be replaced on the backside of it. So that's
Are you talking netting or
chain link,
chain link?
Yeah.
So one on the majors field?
correct,
On
Do
the
you
That would be
backside.
$3,000.
$1,000 to $3,000, I'm saying lower end is 1, the upper end is 3.
Whoa.
Yeah, so like I said,
Considering we just looked at to do it for dog stuff.
and remember too, this would be the first phase to get this field up and running. This wouldn't be able to be in effect until July. We wouldn't be able to get on the field until July to have the village actually help out and cut some of the fields up. He's got the field clay. Field clay at around $10,000. So that's everything that you have to fill in after you gouge out all the baselines in the infield. And I don't believe none of that includes the outfield, which would have to be done. That wouldn't be done in the first phase of the operation. So when I look at it, and that also doesn't include, like I said, none of this is including any kind of galvanized poles or anything, which probably would add to the price. If you look at the upper end of everything, I have 18,321. So I've got about $43,000 if I did total upper end of everything. And what I'm saying is that
For year one.
for year 1. So I would say if we were going to put this in contract or to just allow for spending up to $45,000, I honestly think we're not going to spend that. But it would be nice to know that we wouldn't have to worry about going over the amount.
What was home plate tarps?
That's
1,500.
No, I know what they are, but how much?
1,000,
Well, yeah, you had 1,500 here.
yeah, 1,500, I'm sorry.
$1,500.
1,500.
So where does the netting go and where does the metal fencing go?
The netting goes all the way up both sidelines to cover, it's supposed to go, I believe. I don't remember what he said, 15 to 20 inches over the top of the actual fence to protect balls going into the.
There's some netting there, it's just in really bad shape.
Right,
No, I'm just saying, but to get an idea how much netting you need,
right,
if you were to take a look at it, you can see
Okay,
where
and then the metal fencing is behind home plate,
the metal fencing would be the backstop, but the galvanized fencing.
which is behind home plate.
Correct, yeah.
For those of us who
Right, yeah, I mean, yeah,
those words we understand.
So my only thoughts are if we were to invest that kind of money, I think it would be foolish to give an exclusive contract to somebody.
right.
Cause that would be like their personal
I don't think
field.
it is. We've had other, leagues come on and play. For 4 years, we had a travel league.
Yeah,
They put money into the field and we also helped them put money into the field also. They were there for 4 years. In the contract, it states that the field is still usable for Round Lake residents, the times it's not being used. It's written into the contract. And I don't believe we should write more than a year contract, at least until this job is complete. So it would be a 1 year contract. Then we'd have them re-sign a contract with the same kind of things with the manager to see if we go forward, or maybe none of the stuff would have gotten done and he could have added it to next year.
I mean, I see this as more of the impetus to doing these upgrades versus we're doing these upgrades because of this thing. I think it's one of those areas where we need to put money into a certain thing in order to update it. And this is sort of the drive, the spark that's driving a lot of that. It's just the same as the kids' playground. There's a ton of work that needs to be done with the kids' playground,
Right.
right? And both. We just haven't gotten around to doing it, and this is sort of holding our feet to the flames a little bit. So that's the way I kind of see it. But
Yeah, and it's actually for the future. I mean, these leagues, maybe he'll stay for 10, 15 years. They don't need to last that long. So it leaves us with a finished field that will be our field always. And
that's what I'm saying. It's Round Lakes.
It's
Yeah.
a permanent mound,
permanent mound.
but it's not literally mound, it's 90 feet in,
It can be moved.
oh, it can be moved.
Yeah.
Right, I thought it was movable.
I'm sorry, it wasn't
So it's not
permanent.
permanent, it's movable.
It's permanent material.
Seasonal, right.
Oh, wow, that's
It's-
great.
They're actually called movable, so you can actually move them from minors to majors, which is a huge thing, because we ran into that problem with the other field we had. Where they gouged it out and they had to rebuild them out.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous.
So, I mean, what Matt is saying also, we've let this field sit for the last 5 years, and it is, something needs to be done. We've tried to come up with some ideas, maybe having a dog park there, that didn't seem to pan out. And we went down and talked to somebody from a soccer league at one time. We thought about,
Cricket.
cricket, yeah, and we'll get away from cricket back. But I'm just saying, it's just something, this field, it needs to be paid attention to, or it's just going to become a bigger problem.
And
I'd
this is
just
the
like to
exact-
say that this field's been here since 1907. You know, it just seems a shame if we let it go to crap, you know, and not put money into it. Use it, have it be usable.
Yeah.
did we happen to look at whether we are the oldest baseball field?
According to our books, it's one of the oldest league baseball fields. I mean, you got Doubleday Field. I mean,
Yeah,
baseball was a thing around here in the early 1900s.
1906 is listed as. the
Right, that's
oldest
what I
field.
thought, but then there's other pictures
We have pictures.
prior to that that go into the
1897.
1800s, and that may not have been for this field, but it may not have been around the tee. But they were playing ball someplace in the village.
okay. I was gonna say, is that something that we would be able to dig up in some picture
Absolutely.
somewhere?
Absolutely.
Because if we could prove that we predate these other fields, that's potential to get some grants.
Yeah, that's what, I mentioned that at the last meeting, and that's what I'm saying, it's definitely something that we can look for, farther into. I've actually looked into grants as far as, through historical fields, and I can't find anything on them, but I think just getting a hold of Cooperstown, or, I mean, somebody's gonna be, you know, have some kind of history on it. So,
Question,
yes,
from someone who really doesn't know much about this stuff. Let's presume that we've got a pot of $45,000
Mhm.
that the village board is willing to invest in improving the field. Is putting up netting and fencing the best way to spend that 45,000? I mean, let's face it, if somebody knocks the ball over the fence, you know, the consequences, one of the kids who isn't up to bat runs out and gets it and brings it back.
right.
We need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on netting, which might really not be needed.
I think that more comes into play as far as losing balls, so we had that discussion before, $7 a ball, not a big deal, you know, they're getting the court, and it's better than spending $15,000 on the backstop or $5,000 on the backstop. But I think regulations come into also, if you, regulations to play,
Who regulates the play on the
the
field?
leagues. Certain leagues,
Yeah,
travel
minimum
standards,
standards,
they have standards for having to be able to play. This is going to be this is not just a rec league. This is a travel baseball league that is hooked up with, the American Association of Baseball. And they play amongst each other, so it's part of one big corporation organization they play for.
And if we were to make these improvements, would we have met the regulations?
I would say yes.
Do we have the regulations?
We don't, but I'm
You think we could find?
absolutely, yeah.
All right, dumb question.
No, it's not a dumb question. It's a good question. Because, I mean, I'm just thinking back, we did have a conversation also on how much we put into the stop for the other field that was put in down there. And I believe that was upwards near $15,000. And that was a new backstop.
That was a joint project with Mall.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
split that cost.
Yeah, I understand. that. I'm just thinking about cost of, I mean, what you need and what you didn't need, so. But I mean, he's only talking $5,000 as far as King and Bank goes, which I thought that was a little low, since we were talking 15,000 for a minor league backstop, so. Yeah, like I said, I don't know,
I can't imagine a baseball field that doesn't have a backstop.
no, I mean, it has a backstop,
At least
yes.
high school kids have backstops on it, you know, they just have to have a backstop.
But I understand the argument. So, you know, you want to pay for 25 balls at $7 a piece, or $5,000 for backstop, so, I mean.
A month or so back, a guy from Clifton Park, and I think it's NCAA pitcher. He came in and he was just raving about our field and our rec department, and he said, your fields meet and beat the I don't want to say expectation, but what the standard size is. It's got a larger back field than Shen's does. And he was like, that's just amazing. And he was just so excited. I was like, can you come to our meeting? And he couldn't because it was a conflict of interest, but he was just,
Wood Road, baseball.
no, he's actually something to do with Clifton Park. But he just said it would be a conflict of interest for him to come, but I got his name and there it's like Bill.
Actually, Joe
Baseball Bill or something.
is neighbor, so he knows.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
but so he came, maybe that's why he was here.
No, yeah, no.
Oh,
It is
okay, I thought
it's a
he-
pitcher's ballpark with a big outfit and so on.
Well, actually,
He was just saying
it's the only one that's actually has the official size of
Yeah.
that age. So most of them, they cut them back, to add probably more space. So,
But his enthusiasm was great.
Yeah, he's great.
So to sum this up, we're looking for a resolution for $45,000.
I was looking for a resolution to spend up to $45,000. I'm not sure if you ever pull that out into a fund or how you work that. I mean, like I said, I don't think we're going to spend $45,000, but it would be nice, you know, it's there if we do spend it or come around it without having to.
So if this resolution is passed, who would then have the discretion to say, yes, we'll pay $5 or $10 or $15,000 for that backstop?
Every one of the items is gonna come up. We can either do an executive meeting or if we do the meeting.
It would be The specific purchases are still to be approved by the board.
By the board or go to the liaison, whatever you decide. I know in the contract, it says liaison as long as I'm checking into the, so we don't have to go through a meeting every time.
Yeah, if we're authorizing $45,000, I don't really.
Yeah.
And the broad outline here is to be spent as follows. I don't know whether we need the specifics for every line item that's spent, as long as it's done in collaboration with somebody that knows what they're doing in the mayor.
Someone's got to make that decision.
Right, well, that's how I feel about it.
So it would, our procurement policy would apply. Is that correct? Right, we would be, right, so we're spending money directly.
I'm not sure I understand the answer. And so if after looking at it, you want to spend $17,000 on a fence,
Correct.
who's authorized to sign that check? Who's authorized to say, yes, we're gonna go ahead and do that?
I think we would have to bring it to the board line by line, because if an item exceeds our certain expenditures, we have to get 3 bids for that.
Yeah, which I don't think would be a problem, especially the first year. He's not gonna be playing, he'll be practicing at the most. So if we brought every item to the board, we could do it that way. It's not something that needs, but he's, like I said, we're not gonna be getting on the field until July. It won't be able to do the work on it.
Or if the total budget's 45,000, is anything gonna exceed? Pyramid numbers?
Well, if it's
I thought-
15,000, it has to have 3
3 bids.
quotes, not bids, quotes.
I think I was looking at it today, I think it might actually be 3,000 for a purchase though.
3 then.
There's purchase and then there's different type of contracts, so we should look at that because it's either 3 or 10 for those two.
But they don't have to be bids. Bids are the big issue. Getting quotes is not.
No, that was for R.
It's not the same person doing all things, so there'll be multiple contracts for different contractors. One guy's doing this, one guy's doing that.
Right,
So you can't, it's not a bundle of $45,000. It's individual contracts with multiple vendors.
Correct. We would just have
And,
to,
and if you're in the middle of building a ball field, you can't wait a month for
I
a
know,
board
that's
meeting
what I'm
to have a
saying.
vote. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I mean, if we're of the opinion that this rough outline of a phase 1 plan works, subject to a cap of certain spending money, I would, whatever way that makes it the most efficient, I really don't care if the chain link fence costs 1,000 and the thing costs 2,000 and something else costs. I'm okay with what is being recommended within that budget. I don't know how we structure that, but I don't think we need to say, yes, I approve of 1,500 for this or 3,000 for that. Is there a better way to do that? No, there isn't a better way to do that. Oh, okay.
Well,
Do we legitimately have to approve every single line item individually, or can we agree that this overall plan for spending up to a certain cap is suitable, and then Scott can work with you as the mayor to make sure that those things are approved?
as long as they pursuant to our procurement policy.
Yeah. Okay,
Because if it
Okay,
is
so-
3,000, that we might need three quotes.
yeah,
All right, so we have 2 views. One is that the board should vote on the line items. The other is that the mayor should be authorized within the strictures of our bidding policy to be able to authorize specific expenditures.
if it's
Whoever's gonna move a resolution needs to specify which of those 2.
yes. I'm gonna make a resolution that we approve the draft phase 1 spending plans up to a limit of 45,000 and authorize the mayor to make decisions on the approval of each item, subject to our procurement policy.
Second.
Discussion?
And from Parkland Fund, if I didn't specify that, but
Is parkland funds different than a recreation fund? Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
Sorry, I guess one question is the difference between the recreation and the parkland fund. What do we, is there,
there's not a lot of money in the recreation fund, I don't think.
About 110,000.
Yeah,
okay, and it's not something I assume that we get income like we do from.
Look, it's over the house.
yes, right, the new house, right, that's how it comes in, yeah. I think there's other ways that we can use the recreation fund
yeah,
going forward.
flexible.
Yeah, Parkland's more flexible for this use.
So I have a question.
Hang on.
If we invest the $50,000 now, oops, I'm sorry.
We're in the middle of.
Let's go ahead and try to ask.
I'm with,
Yes.
yes.
Sorry. Can I ask my question?
Okay.
So it's,
If we invest the $50,000 or $45,000 in this now, it kind of carries over into next year, like any of the costs that we're gonna do is gonna be
Yes,
much more minimal than the
you're talking,
outgoing.
you're talking
Once we
about
get that
something.
4-year contract, whatever the contract is,
This is not gonna happen in 1 year, 2 years,
Right.
3 years, 4 years. It's gonna probably be a 4-year process to get it finished exactly the way you're
Right.
gonna have it done, and I think things will get there. That's, I don't see us.
but it's not gonna, you're not gonna have a ton of money spent every year, so we're making an initial investment on a long-term gain. Correct. That's.
All right, I had to run. Thanks so much. I'll get hold of Joe.
Bye.
All right, thank you. Oh, we can go to the next.
Contract, does that have to be included in the contract? Has to be amended to the contract?
Now, yes, I think it should, so
Okay.
I can sit down together and do the.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, thanks. Next we have Mr. Galloway.
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, thanks for taking action on Paper Park. That's really appreciated. And I wanted to continue a little bit of discussion on the parking issue. I submitted a map. Maybe if you want to use that as part of the discussion. It's focused on Baker Park and Orient Park for now. And it shows existing conditions and some potential parking spots. None of the parking spots use any parkland. And the only other thing is I have some suggestions for action items. You want to take care of Orient Park like you've done with Baker Park and enforce your no parking regulations. Rehab the existing parking, designated parking near Orient Park. And that's it.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. I don't know how you want to proceed. I can discuss the map or different other issues with the existing designated parking. Or do that later in the meeting.
So I'm not sure that 10th Street actually has the capability for a parking spot on the Whitfield Ave side.
On the Whitfield.
I believe there's trees and stuff that's there
Yes.
right now.
Yeah, it could be, but it is a potential depending on the tree inventory, what they found too.
Okay,
Because across the street near Alumni Hall, there's a dead maple that was identified to be removed. So it could be, but on the other side of Troy,
there's definitely
Yeah.
space there, yes.
and I think if you wanted to expand that section of parking into 10th Street, might be able to pick up one spot, but not, it wouldn't go into the park.
Yeah,
Just.
I think you can get 2 spots there.
Maybe, yeah.
that's the one I'm in favor of doing very quickly. I think, Stu, I can't remember if you were in the last board meeting or not, but we had discussed the fact that we wanted to expand that parking, but we were sort of caught up in the air about what the surfacing would look like for that parking. So I think there was a general sense of the board that we wanted to do that, but not a general sense in terms of how we wanted to do that with asphalt or permeable paving or some sort of interlocking landscape type product.
Right,
There was some disagreement, or not disagreement, but
options.
options that we needed to work through. And my own feeling as well was that we need to work through those additions in a thoughtful way before we remove too much of the sort of, I'll call it non-designated parking that we need, in order to not cause too much upheaval. I think right now in Baker Park, we had 2 residents that regularly park there with ample parking that was nearby, but if we're gonna remove, say another section with another 4 or 5, we wanna make sure we have a thoughtful plan for where, where other folks might park or things like that. So I would like to add in the Troy Ave side parking, and I think that was
What was that, Matt?
the Troy Ave parking spot that Stu has
Okay, yeah.
highlighted on 10th Street. Makes total sense for me to add in there and also to strike the currently designated parking that's there to make it more efficient use of the space.
And I'd kind of like to avoid conflating, forcing the no parking
Yes,
with providing new parking.
Yes.
I think that they're separate things.
it's fair,
The parking didn't exist on Orient Park either.
yes.
So it's not like we're taking away, it's just that we're enforcing the law and protecting the park and the trees.
I understand that perspective. If you go to, Google Maps, you can go back to 2007 and people have been parking there since 2007. So we're talking about 20 years of people parking in that spot. I pulled
Which
it up,
one?
Orient Park
On the south side?
on the south side. Yes, multiple cars have been parking there for 20 years. And so I totally agree with you that it's a lack of enforcement, but you also have to keep in mind people have to put their cars somewhere, right? And if we're not thoughtful about where those somewheres are and ensure that we have, like, for instance, I think there is quite a bit of parking around Scott and Harris Park that is not used. I'm just concerned that if we remove too much parking all at once and don't start looking at these potential parking spots like on 10th Street, like as you highlighted on Alumni Hall, potentially around on James Ave, which you haven't highlighted, but I think maybe is an opportunity.
But maybe
We
we
should-
maybe we could squeeze out, existing spots as
Yeah.
much as possible before going new. For example, you
Agreed.
mentioned Scott and Harris Park.
Agree.
There may be a place there where there's not, a person has a business and he's storing cars there. Is
Yes,
that appropriate?
agree.
People have trailers and things like that on village property. Is that appropriate? Is that taking up spaces?
I totally agree with you there. How do we go about enforcing, somebody that's got a legally registered licensed car in a public parking spot?
Or the example of, there was a car at the end of Troy, in the way of the DPW plowing, had a flat tire, sat there all winter. That kind of thing uses up spaces, and then we say, oh, we need more parking. Well, here we go.
That car is registered and inspected.
Right, but it had a flat tire and had to move it all winter.
Right, but that's still not a violation of our code.
It could,
Unless
Yeah, yeah,
it,
that's not change the code.
well, if
Good idea.
the emergency snow removal. Right? I mean, we could tow if there's a snow removal issue, so everybody else is told to move, I guess.
So Stuart,
Just,
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your thought.
but yeah, I mean, I guess one of the things, maybe in the previous discussions, have we looked at and compiled all of the different applicable regulations, so we can see what we can potentially enforce, what needs to be amended. And about businesses, for example, like, are somebody storing cars inappropriately? Do we have anything on that? Is that not allowed?
This board has a number of decisions to make.
Yeah.
What parking, if any, do we allow around any of the parks or other village land? And what I'm envisioning is that at each meeting, the board will go through, we deal piecemeal with those. Not necessarily implement them, but say, we're going to put, 3 striped parking spaces on the south side of Orient Park.
Mhm.
And again, there are funding issues and what type of, striping, what type of foundation are we gonna put down? But that's part of it. Just simply deciding where the parking places are gonna be is part of it, and deciding how we're gonna rewrite our parking law, so we deal with things like people who have, they go to Florida in the winter, and they put a car there and a sheet over the car, and it stays there for 6 months. Well, we may need to tell those people they need to find a different place to park. Not a place that people need on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But that's all part of it, and we've been talking about this. I can personally vouch since 1990. We talk about these things, but we don't make the specific decisions, so I think incrementally, we march through this a little bit at each meeting until we're finally done. But yes, part of that is to go through and we rewrite our parking law to deal with RVs and long-term parking and parking that's in connection with the business, all that stuff.
Do we have a parking law?
We do a parking law and it's wildly inadequate.
Okay,
The law is that you can't have an unregistered, unlicensed vehicle on village property for more than 24 hours. Or even on private property for more than 30 days, and that's about the, and it has to be moved during emergencies.
No parking on parkland.
Yeah, no parking on parkland, that's
Unless
the,
specifically doesn't.
Yeah, no parking where any tire is
yeah, on
on
the street,
village asphalt.
yeah.
And the other thing is you could involve the ZBA and the planning board. I went to a
Yeah.
ZBA meeting and talked to them about revising some of the review process to include parking.
Yeah.
So some people have self-inflicted,
Headaches.
yeah, so you might, they build a deck in a
Fence.
hot tub or something, and then they say, well, I don't have any parking spot, by parking. So, self-inflicted hardship should, you should review that during the ZBA process when providing an area variance, for example. You don't wanna allow them to build out and not have space for a car, then everybody says, oh, I don't have space for a car, and you can park it on the park. Planning board too has a review process that might be adjusted to, make sure we have our eyes on the parking issue.
Was this map that you just do specifically looking at the southern half of the village, or have you? The other half of the village,
I think I gave, previously I gave a map that had a wider view. This is just Baker and Corning.
yeah, so that's the other thing I'm thinking about, focusing on just the two immediately adjacent areas at the same time versus maybe taking a look at another end of the village and working on that versus doing a lot of disruption in one part of the village. I mean, again, this is. I'm not gonna die on the hill because it doesn't affect, I mean, it positively impacts me. I'm just trying to do also work in a neighborly fashion to make sure that. Go ahead, Jason.
I think the first thing we need to do is strike and inventory the number of current parking spots there are. I think the parking is a large.
The parking at Scott Harris Park is adequate for the parking.
No, but I mean, the way people park
Yeah.
is very chaotic, and sometimes it's not always in the neatest manner. So I think if we go through and take this map, for example, and we actually put stripes down on all the spots. And calculate the number of spots, we might be able to gain one parking spot in each
So
spot by adding striping.
Yeah, so then coming back to what we can do right now, taking a bit at a time. It seems like we all kind of agree on the 10th Ave, like on the Troy Ave,
10th Street.
10th Street.
Yeah, Matt, you would ask priorities, you wanted me to.
Yes.
For it, I just said, Baker and Corning.
Yeah,
That's why.
I agree with you that it's a priority. I'm just trying to think about, because that's actually probably 4 or 5 vehicles at Oregon Park that are gonna, if we ban it today. We have to, I mean, I guess it's not our responsibility to figure out where those people park, but but. On the other hand, I do want to make sure that we're thoughtful about it, because then. They could park their car somewhere where somebody else traditionally parks their car, and then that person that's been parking there for 15 years has to find another spot. Yes, it's public parking and everybody, it is first come, first serve, but we're also neighbors and we need to think about. And I don't know if any conversation's been had with the folks that park at Orient Park at all.
I gotta say also that, the onus shouldn't be just on the board.
No, I agree.
There's, the residents themselves too could step up and make sure that they, they could park us on their own property.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, so I mean, again, that's where I kind of say, I would love to take action on putting in some spots on Troy Ave. I think, where the holdup is how we, what kind of surface we use and. Asphalt and striping is certainly the easiest to do and maintain, but then there's the environmental. I think Peter had raised the concern about runoff, which I think is valid. Aesthetics.
Yeah, and I think also if we're going to say, I think Baker Park was a specific case because it was the playground with the children. But I think maybe for the other parks where we might start enforcing the broader no parking on parkland, I think it should be more of a process, not one by one telling people. So I think maybe we could look at that, like displacing or, enforcing that more broadly. Cause I agree with what you're saying.
Even
so
if
we
the
could-
folks that store their vehicles in Scott Harris Park move the storage of their vehicles to somewhere else in the village. It would free up that parking for people that need it to go in and out every day. And again, I don't know what conversations we've had with the people that store their cars. There, because I know that they are, because they have the covers on them all the time, so, or trailers, or things like that, so.
Laughing, this reminds me of, Johnny Mitchell's song.
Hey, Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, could we also, just for the purposes of moving things forward? Sounds like we have a lot of questions. Could we come up with, would it be appropriate, like for the next meeting? Come up with a list of questions and a list of, I mean, I know we have a lot of recommendations here. What exactly does the board need to make a decision on and how to move forward? Because I would say I'll make a motion to review the Troy Avenue 10th Ave parking spots, but then do we need the broader discussion of do we need to make a decision before that about what we're putting down before we?
I need to have somebody research, I mean. Somebody needs to come with quotes for. What different surfacing options like for research, I think Gary had provided some. Numbers from ChatGPT. But we don't have any bids or anything like that, so.
So if we could go ahead and just get that done independently of like a broader process, that would move things forward.
So.
Okay, and we can do that.
Yeah.
It might be good to target something small like that and get like
That's a good point.
500 square feet or so. What would be the cost for this? What would be the cost for
Yeah.
grid permeable blocks or asphalt? That would be a good starting point.
And also to work in collaboration with DPW too, because that's another consideration is what type of surfacing. This plowing and things like that.
That is my, I have to be honest, that is my biggest concern right now, is that if you look at the roads after this winter and how they've heaved all over and all the damage that's been done even to the relatively newly paved roads. My concern is that, the nice landscaping blocks will do the same thing, and then when you plow over it, you jam it and pull it up and.
That is correct. I do not recommend the pavers. I recommend we look at the permeable asphalt instead of the.
Permeable asphalt is ugly. I don't know how well it holds up, but if you look at, Cleveland Ave, the extension, if you walk down there, that's permeable asphalt that we have.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's pretty ugly and crumbly. I'm not sure if that. I'm just take a look at it and get back.
Would it be appropriate to have some kind of landscape company to come in and make a presentation or?
They'll find the same thing ChatGPT did that has all the cheapest.
I guess so. All right, I'm suggesting who's gonna do this research, who has time to do it, and then you can get somebody else to do it for us.
They paint tennis courts. I mean, why can't you paint, parking spots?
Saying what?
Green,
Oh, yeah.
asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
Green.
I think the 10th Street and Troy Ave one, I honestly am comfortable with having that one, I mean, it's that space. Personally, don't mind it being asphalt, and I think Second Street and other areas where it sort of does go along the park, just to Stu's point, 10th Street's not. a Park, some of the other areas where they're adjacent to park, I think is more aesthetically pleasing. Parking is more warranted, we've got all of that asphalt that's at Scott Harris Park already. This is just talking about an additional one spot. The advantage is we can get moving on it relatively quickly, and it's not gonna cause issues with DPW. And then I think I agree that there's like there's probably a lot of spots right now that can be utilized without having to add a tremendous amount of parking. One or two spots here or there, I think. We don't have to go wild. And we should look at our parking code as it relates to some other issues, but I just don't know how enforceable it will be. That's the downside.
Practically.
Practically enforceable, yeah, so if somebody owns a used car dealership in the village, I mean. How are we gonna prove if it's a licensed registered vehicle, that they don't have the right to park there, I guess is.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, you would have to change the law, saying.
Well, we have laws that say you can't run a business in the village, right? So, I mean, I don't know if that's enforceable.
That's sure it's a business, it's just.
Yeah, right.
He's a car nut.
What you want us to do is you want us to, your ask is for us to prohibit parking or to enforce the no parking rule in Orient Park. That's what you would like us to do tonight, correct? Yes.
And thanks for considering it.
Yeah,
All right, so I'll discuss with John. What needs to be done, what the village can do. Get an estimate for various options. For
yeah, if we
that,
can get that.
that small spot.
If we can get that by the next meeting, April 15th, I think I'd be more comfortable with. You know, talking about Orient Park, and I think we also just have to have some conversations with our neighbors. Just to let them, I mean, there's people that probably aren't aware. I don't think the people that we informed through letters were aware today, because. They might not have read the letter, I don't know, I just think we, you know, we're a small village, we're tight. We gotta talk to people a little bit and. Loop people in on what's going on, again. Is it the letter of the law or our responsibility to do so? No, we have existing law that we can enforce right now, but is it the right thing to do, or is it the neighborly thing to do? That's what I come into it.
Who's going to have those conversations?
I'll talk to the Coleman's. I don't mind.
I could do that with you.
Yeah,
if you'd like. I think that's a good idea, and I think also. Making that broader discussion in the village as we, you know, if we're planning to go forward with this with other parts.
Yep.
So that it's not, and people also don't feel targeted, like it's one
That's
one
yeah,
house.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't need to be, it's just we have an objective to maintain the village as it is.
Yeah.
Move the way it looks for, and keep green spaces for everybody, so. And that's our objective, it's not targeting specific people.
No, it just happens to be that is one.
Well, right, we're starting, right, we're starting with that, yeah. We're starting with Orient Park.
Yes. Yep, all right, sounds good.
All righty, we're back to public comment. All righty. A baseball contract, done, license plate lookup table. Auditorium doors.
I got 4 estimates on auditorium doors. One I particularly like, I went to Curtis, and Curtis would just act as a middleman. They could order a door. If nobody makes it that size, so we'd have to buy a door that we'd have to cut down. I'm leery about cutting down doors, and they wanted $3,260 for a door that size that we have to cut down.
32,000.
Double,
No, 3,200.
3,200.
double door or something?
No, just each door, each door. One door is $3,200 from Curtis, and we'd have to cut it down. And we're not cutting it, we're cutting like 4 inches off the door, which makes me. I'm a little leery about cutting.
Are you talking about 2 doors?
Yeah, we need 2, but you'll buy individual, like, you know, I shop
Doors 3,200, so we're talking
Yeah,
about
so you need to-
$500.
Right, and then besides that, you have to get somebody to cut it down to size, then you have hardware.
Yeah.
Hardware's about $2,000, then you have to have somebody install the hardware. Big pain in the butt. Then I went to, A Woodworking, they wanted $4,000 for a door, I went to Richardson's and they wanted $3,600 a door, and a lot of these places say, we could, Richardson and A Woodworking would say, we can get you the door, we'll custom make the door, but you have to wait 8 months. You know, we're busy, that's, then I went to LaRue, which is local in Boston Spa. They could, custom make the doors, install all the hardware. I think I have an example of their bid was really gave us everything, and that was, $3,800 each door. They could do all doors for auditorium for 31,000,
This is four doors total.
4 doors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
Install.
That's including the hardware.
That's everything, yeah, except installation. I was talking to Jason, would probably go back.
That is including installation.
So it is,
Yeah, that $31,181.52 is including installation of the 4 custom French doors.
they're not gonna paint them, though, right?
I don't know
No,
that.
I don't think so. But that's, I you know, it's an oddball size door, you know, they're 7 feet 4 inches tall and 31 inches wide. So whatever we do has to be custom.
No, it's unpainted.
31 inches wide,
Excuse me?
31 inches wide for each door.
Yeah. Well, it's, I thought that's, it's doing
Well,
2
31
doors,
3 4 times 4 doors. But that's not $31,000.
It's $6,800 total, so I think that it's $6,800 installed per door. So I think there was a cost per the
Okay.
door, and then
Yeah.
the installed price per door is $6,800, so I'm
Plus the
looking,
hardware,
no, that's the total, that's all in.
yeah, right, including the hardware.
So like Curtis was 5,200 per door following, not installed. Then the other ones were in the same ballpark, not installed, with an extra time frame, so you're saying that the delivery one is,
it's by far the
Yes.
best,
and timeline for them,
at least 2 months.
okay. But more just.
I think the procurement policy would be problematic for getting just quotes.
Under 35,000.
Okay, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one then from the policy. Review it before.
If it's over 35, you need to get it's official and go out to bid, the whole process.
But like an RFP,
That would be collectively. for
Right.
RFP.
okay, that's not what the one I'm looking at says in the email that I got, so. Could we get a copy,
What,
just comparing?
what email?
The one when we were reviewing
All
all
the
the
policies.
policies. And we just divided them up to look at.
Mhm.
I looked at the procurement one, so this was. It talks about, yeah, if it's more than 35,000 formally bid. But then purchases. Less than 20,000, greater than 3,000 required written request for a proposal. It says, okay, it says, I'm sorry, it says RFP, but maybe that's just written request being an email. It's sufficient,
Yeah, this is a whole,
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
we have bad luck with our things.
Yeah, I just,
Nobody.
terminology was throwing me off, okay.
so you've gotten 4 quotes.
Yeah.
At least, right, and. We can accept,
We got,
yeah, we got at least 3, so we can accept if we choose.
you have a recommendation to the board.
LaRue in Boston Spa.
I will make a motion to contact LaRue for arranging a contract for the doors.
Authorize.
Sorry, you're-
To,
You just said to contact them. Do you mean to enter into a contract with them?
Yes, yeah. To enter into a contract with LaRue for the doors for,
Up to 32,000.
yeah, up to 32,000. I would like to throw a 10% contingency on that for unseen issues,
or just authorize up to 35.
35,
up to 35,000.
to be spent from, would that be parkland?
That would be perfect.
Yeah, to be spent for parkland. Second,
We have a,
you say up to $34,999.
Oh. Revise that 34,000.
999. Susan, 34,999.
Oh, good point.
Yes.
Good catch.
okay.
All right, so that's been authorized. We have a second
Yeah, I seconded.
discussion.
Once those doors are installed, can we have DPW get right on painting them?
Before
That
the
was-
install.
Right, right.
Okay.
It was
Well,
supposed to,
Susan just-
you're over there.
Susan just mentioned that, we got a, Global Founders grant, was it, for 4,500, they could go towards this.
That's right.
Plus that.
Good.
Matt,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
yes. Righty. Now we are at Washington Ave traffic. As most of you know, there is a soccer field at the end of Washington Ave that hasn't really led to an increase in traffic yet, but has the potential of increasing the traffic flow. Some of the data that I collected on Washington Ave in 2023, there was an average on the work week of 281 cars. Both directions, total.
There's more art.
Then,
Little poetry places.
about 210,
They can't afford anything else. They don't have any.
and going back. What's that?
David, that was mute, so I was just.
No, the infrastructure is really just falling apart.
Back at 2021. Most recent data we have is from 2023 and shows 281 vehicles per day. There has been for a long time complaints of cars going too fast on Washington. Large trucks cutting through, which depending on their size is also against our code. And the purpose of this meeting is some of the ideas that have been kicked around are making it one way, blocking it off at, putting a stop sign at Bangs. Dead ending it at Wood Road. So we've been discussing this for a while and we thought it would be worthwhile getting some Washington Ave residents in, Washington and Hurley, and if you have any ideas that we haven't thought of on what to do. When the floor is open.
I guess on a little non-official side of business, I've had conversations with Clifton Park. There are 40 parking spots being put in for the soccer field, and there is an intent to turn around 40 cars per hour. 20 coming in, 20 coming out per hour while the soccer field is active.
Now, who did you have that conversation with?
I asked I think that was the planning board.
Mr. Scavo?
No, it was his secretary.
Okay.
Is the entrance to the soccer field on Wood Road?
It is on the road.
So it's kind of like right.
It is across from, where's the house?
Edwards Drive.
Edwards Drive.
Yeah, how many? 20 or 40?
20, the estimate turnaround is 20 in, 20 out, essentially.
So there would be 20 cars parking?
Correct.
Right here, Jason.
And
Yes, directly across
Yeah,
from
per
her
driveway.
driveway.
Was that approved by the planning board? Because I did see that plan.
Yes, the 40 parking spaces is approved by the planning
40
board.
parking spaces or 20?
40,
Oh.
correct. It was originally,
16.
yeah, it was like 16 and then he modified it again. And he also just put in a proposal, the entire side of the barn is gonna be covered in signage. Which is apparently like 1,000 times the amount of signage that he's supposed to have per.
It
Clifton
requires
Park.
a variance, that's for sure.
Yes.
Big size. So fortunately, they don't face Round Lake, they face Clifton Park, but.
Can I say something? There are 3 new projects to be built on Wood Road, all trucking companies. And they're fairly close to Round Lake, so one of them is done, they're building two more there. Next to the soccer field, there's about 5 acres of land. I talked to Slade Jones, he owns the soccer field. And Slade said, it's gonna be an event space. That's what he'd like to use the 5 acres for. Keep in mind that his uncle, his father-in-law rather, is Wayne, who owns the mill. So Wayne has just been turned down to build a catering hall on his property. I just envision Wayne shifting gears and moving a catering hall right there on Wood Road. I imagine that's what's gonna happen.
What I have thought about doing, and I'm interested to see what the other Washington Ave residents think about this idea, is doing what they did in Baltimore, which is allowing bicycle traffic and pedestrian traffic only and eliminating car traffic. And you would do that towards the end of Hurley. So in other words, you would allow bikes and pedestrians to be allowed through. But no automobiles.
So dead end.
Which would essentially dead end it as they did in Malta. And you guys know what I'm talking about with Maltaville, right? The one that was right off of Route 9 when they built the rotaries, they went around it there and you could drive through it.
Like going into Griffin.
So, no, you know, if you go right across the,
Round Lake Road, only straight across Route 9 in Maltaville.
yeah,
The kayak launch.
the kayak launch, thank you, Tina.
Okay.
As an example of what that used to actually be a road,
Yeah.
a real road, and then they made it so that only a bicycle or pedestrian can go through there and no more cars.
One of the things that went through my mind is right at either after Bangs Ave or at the sharp corner right in between Washington and Hurley. Is, I guess, Washington, I don't know where the deviation between the two roads is.
Right there.
According to Google Maps, it's at the sharp corner. In between where the group of our 4 houses is and the way Andy Wager's house.
Probably was stop sign to the right or to the left at 140.
Yeah.
Just like Old Washington was at 140.
And that would be another idea too, would be to do the same thing that I'm suggesting, but move it further north so that, you know.
So that way, it's not an extremely long dead end
Yeah,
from one way
Yeah,
or the other.
yeah.
We could also put in the style gates, I believe. I sat in a Malta town board meeting where there's a style gates that emergency access can readily get through in a situation.
like Cleveland has similar to, right?
Yes, but not different, even different than that, where it's a locked gate, but it's a style gate that has a breakaway. That if they need to get through in a hurry, they don't have to get out with a key and all this other just nonsense.
Yeah, so you're right, the downside to that, my suggestion is emergency access.
Again, the planning board looked at that dead end, and Fred Severs investigated it and said, there's no way DOT will allow you to
So
dead
they
end
do
that
school
street.
buses.
I think we can make a strong case for it based off of it. It's our village road, we're doing it for a safety, we dead ended other streets. It's not necessarily a dead end, it's just restricting of traffic. So we're not actually abandoning the street, which is where I think you actually run into
Yeah.
issues with DOT, it's street abandonment, there's strong laws around maintaining public access to streets.
Or.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Attorney.
How about a seasonal closure?
And mystery to me is how they managed to burn off the road by the kayak.
Yeah, because they maintain some access, they restricted access, but it's still public
If
access.
that's the difference,
Yeah,
then perhaps we can do something.
Yeah.
We cannot simply burn off the end of the
Yeah.
street and leave no access. So
Yeah, and-
if bicycle access will get us there, then that's great. We'll
yeah.
have to look into that because I have not heard that was that's a
What-
positive point.
What are the thoughts of residents who would be inconvenienced by that?
Oh, I'm not in community, that's it. I just want to say, my kids are almost done with soccer, so I've gone to a lot of these. Events that that he calls it, tournaments. What happens is. I'm sorry. What happens in the tournament? There's many teams go. There's usually 40 cars, that's 2 teams. You're thinking, okay, you know, 2 teams, 15, 20 kids on each team. That's you're thinking one parent's gonna come for each kid to the game. If you go to the game, it's mom, sometimes it's different, separate parents, and then maybe 2 sets of grandparents, and all of a sudden one kid carries four cars. And then if you have a tournament, if you go to Weldon, when they have tournaments, I mean, you don't see the end of where the cars park in the neighborhoods.
No.
The people walk and walk and walk. So if people start parking on the Wood Road and Hurley, already it's such a thin road. Where would they park? On Route 9? Nobody's gonna park there.
So,
Well, they did park on
They
Route
did.
9 when they wanted to go to the mill,
Right.
before the mill increased its parking.
Also, I don't think there's any doubt that having the soccer field there is going to cause a huge amount of traffic.
Well,
I
you
don't
make more
say-
than 40 parking bays.
there's no, there, I don't think
Currently, he is
anything.
not allowed to hold games there. However, he is working on other things and doing other stuff in that area. Mark my words, it will be bigger than what he had slated
He's
as.
pushing his way.
I don't think there's any debate from the board on the fact that this is an issue and that we're trying to solve for I think what we're trying to solve for here is what makes the most sense to reduce the traffic and keep everybody's quality of life appropriate in order to do that. And I think that's where we're having this workshop right now is what are the solutions? I think we've identified the problem. We know that, right? I mean, I don't think there's any disagreement that we need to do something. It's just what do we do?
So speaking as one of the 4 houses on the island there on Hurley Beach, me and my partner moved in 3 years ago, and the traffic has gotten significantly worse than even when we moved in 3 years ago. Not so much from the soccer field, but just people, trucks. I've had 18-wheelers stop out in front of my house and knock on the door asking for directions because they can't find Wood Road.
Do you have to suggest?
Yes, so me and my partner discussed it at length. We're not traffic engineers, but we both are classically trained engineers collegiately. We would love to see either in a one-way or to shut down that section between Bangs Road and our house. We're not opposed to losing access to driving into the village and having to go around the long way. But because there's no housing there and because the trees have been trimmed back, people are doing upwards of 50 miles an hour past our house. It's gotta be.
Multiple
Dangerous to
times
walk
a
the dog to
day.
the trail right now. I just end up driving.
So your solutions are one way or
Just
closing it.
Yeah, it's funny,
So
bicycle
restricting
road or-
access, yeah.
I think we should really strongly look at the laws and see if we can keep bicycle and pedestrian access. Either with 2 gates or one gate in the middle. Then I think that would be,
something that makes it not a throughway for people to race.
My research on, because I did a little research on this, is that we are able to do that, and there are examples in our local community where we have been able to do that, and in some senses, I would rather seek forgiveness than permission on doing that, but I mean, certainly we can do some more.
Sorry, which one's that?
Which one,
Shut it down.
the idea,
Yeah.
narrowing the road to only bicycle and pedestrian access and providing emergency vehicle access, so. The other thing on the one way is I'm not so sure that that's the best solution because you're still gonna have, what actually happens with one ways, believe it or not, is it actually speeds cars up.
Yeah.
Because now they're not worried about oncoming traffic, so the lane actually becomes much wider for them and they.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah, no, I know,
Right now.
I agree, it's a solution, but I think that my opinion is the better solution is to. Disconnect the road from two-way traffic entirely.
Agreed. That is fair.
So I'll put my 2 cents in and say that I'm thrilled to hear that that's an option. I was just hoping for 3 speed bumps. We can do that. And I would stress that there's a lot of walking traffic and bicycle traffic from when the bike trail is icy or snowy, so it's not just the residents. So we already would have a lot of people who would still be using it for biking and walking. So, yes, close it off.
Nobody said anything about enforcing the law on speeding. And that soccer field, a lot of people would probably go up to Route 9, I would think. Not all of them would come down the back road.
Yeah,
So you're gonna have,
it's really hard to enforce
Right.
speeding.
why don't they enforce some police there and give tickets out? And once you get a couple of tickets, they won't speed.
They called the sheriff's by across from Andy, and he's like, he said, not a single car went through, and he was there for half hour. I stood with my kid waiting for the bus. Nobody came, and it was like,
The
You know,
whole,
you
the
feel
whole
like-
village is 20 miles per hour, and we've talked about it for, I mean, as long as I've been here, that people speed, people speed down in front of my house, people speed everywhere, you can put a patrol out there 23 hours of the day and write every single ticket, and the 24th hour, someone's gonna speed. You just can't, you have to figure out ways,
We do have usage statistics, so I
Yeah.
could say between 11 o'clock going northbound, 12 cars now.
say it again, Gary.
Beat the cops.
Between, for example, 11 o'clock, 12 cars went by northbound, 14 went by southbound. So, I mean, we can get the data indicating when the sheriff should be there.
Oh,
Should be there.
okay, there you
It's just in the morning, because nobody's gonna be
Gary,
there.
reason why you chose the poll that you chose to put that monitoring thing up
Oh,
on the monitoring unit that you put up on Washington Ave to take that data,
yeah,
is there a reason you chose that pole
yes.
instead of one closer to Hurley?
Uh,
Because that's where the people are speeding.
Yeah.
Like when Heidi said she wanted the speed bump in front of her house and Bob Davis was like, you can't put it there. And he made it like, oh, she's on the board. She's asking for a special favor. That's where the speed bump needs to freaking go, is in front of her house. Not down by Judy's house, because the people are coming off of Hurley going 40 miles an hour.
Doesn't matter.
Nobody's speeding down there. They're
They
speeding
hit
at
that
hours.
speed bump and they pick up.
It's,
Either way,
it's ridiculous.
Either way.
Just like Keegan
Anyway, to
said. they're
answer
coming
your
right at your house, they're going 40 miles an hour.
question, yes, there was a reason, because it was convenient. Because it was there, was a place to put it.
Would you mind putting it back up and moving it closer to Hurley and see how fast the people are actually moving?
I'll volunteer my husband to put up a pole.
If
There's
there-
a pole by Jane's house.
What I'm saying,
I
once the people cross that bridge and enter the neighborhood part of
Right.
Washington Ave, they start to slow down.
They
As
slow down a
come
bit.
over that bridge, they are flying. It's unbelievable how fast the car,
So.
it's so bad.
I'm sure.
Do you have any solutions, Christine?
with that.
Do I have a solution? It's dead end the road.
Right.
Okay.
All for it, dead end the road. I spent all day Monday picking up trash. I don't know if you noticed how clean the road is now, but I filled a 55-gallon contractor bag full of beer cans. Somebody likes Labatt Blue, Molson Canadian, and White Claw. We're 55-gallon filled to the brim, threw it in the dumpster.
I'd like
And, oh yes, and fire whiskey bottles.
Christine,
Here.
you're saying, where do you want it? You want the,
I want it
Unit
closer
near
to
the
the bridge, closer to the creek, where, so the traffic coming from Hurley onto Washington. Clock it there, that's where they're speeding.
Yeah, but your house is.
Yes,
Follow
exactly,
Does
that's
anybody-
why Heidi said put the speed
Yeah,
bump in
does
front of
that-
her house.
Say,
She's right, that's where you got it. Oh my god.
does anybody deny on the board that people speed on Washington Avenue? Is there any, does anybody on the board think that that doesn't happen?
No.
Okay, so we all agree that people speed. I don't even think we need data to do it. Again, Gary, certainly, I know you're a numbers guy, so feel free to pull the data. What we're trying to do is provide, come up with a solution. So I sense that, is there anybody that lives on Washington Avenue that is opposed to restricting access to pedestrian and bikes only? Nobody.
Do,
Okay,
what about, so if you, the options would be south of the 4
I
houses or
think-
north?
I
Is
think,
that, are those the two options?
I want to probably make it half and half, right? So that
Yeah.
as many
we
houses.
wanna make it half and half, and I think the best place, I put a lot of thought into it. The best place to do it would be at the sharp turn, because I believe that is the technical intersection between Washington and Hurley.
Okay, and then from a fire perspective, Tina, seeing as you're here, would that make sense, like to have emergency, if it was an emergency access gate, there's no, from a emergency response perspective, there's no
I mean,
downsides to that?
definitely have to check with the chief, but I don't see a problem with
I'm
that.
just-
If there's no
I-
houses there, there's nothing to burn.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I'm sorry to move fence.
Gary, can you check in with the chief on our idea, please?
Yep.
So you just put up signs at each beginning of each road saying dead end?
Right, yep, no through
Yeah, So
access.
people don't go racing down the road.
People learns quick enough and they'll put the update in Google Maps so that nobody's, Google Maps is taking them there.
The other thing I'd like to make mention of, our newly paved road is currently falling apart.
Yeah, probably because they heavy truck traffic.
Because of the current traffic, it was not designed for all the big rigs that are running on it day in and day out.
Right.
So
I was just trying to offer, but I mentioned that Washington used to tee at Hurley as a short term, make that a true turn as opposed to going around a bend.
What do you mean you used?
It used to be Hurley Road and Washington. And then as time people started driving, it became around a bend, and so they come around the bend. So I'm thinking if you tee it again. Probably not, but I'm just going way back, but I'm just saying, if you were to tee that again and make it Washington and Hurley, trucks wouldn't be able to make that corner as easily. And it would probably detract from them going down Washington and making a right-hand turn onto it if you made that a solid angle, around that corner.
I think getting a gate,
Just-
putting it in, that's very quick.
Yeah.
So let's just get a gate.
that was all in probably eminent domain and find land from.
Well, you have to repave it and put
Well,
out.
it's not all of it, Corliss owns most of it.
I'm having trouble.
Can we just,
I thought that it would like get the truck traffic
I
out.
want to investigate what that gate you were talking about that Malta Town Board used.
Yeah, that was up in Avondale, I think, the Avondale development. Yeah, that's right. The new development where.
It's like a breakaway gate essentially.
Where they're building the houses down.
Why wouldn't you put up the same gate that's on?
Well, that's what, he said this one is a breakaway, so you guys could blow through it if you needed to, which sounds cool, but.
That's what so fast.
I don't know.
I mean,
I'll test it.
I was just saying, if the fire department is fine with the same gate, then, and you guys have a valid procedure, then that makes sense too.
So if they were to put a gate on your side, I would then do something about, because I'm thinking like, that's gonna be a dead end, a long dead end street, strip of road. Who's to say, people not gonna be parking there, what's gonna be happening?
Bob is gonna.
Well, yeah, but at night, Bogdan found needles in his property in Wood Road. Right where the kids play, right over there, that's very nice and curvy, very private.
That's where I picked up all the beer cans too, between the two bends, where it bends the first time.
Yeah.
And then
Here's an idea, put 2 cents a gate, put 2 sets of gates in.
Yeah.
That's a simple idea to that one.
It will save a lot of headache for somebody who got down
Yeah.
and then has to return.
Yeah,
So something that we do, I'm from Vermont originally, from here, a lot of what rural roads do, where we're trying to prevent this kind of thing, they do Jersey barriers or spaced, you can still have your pedestrian and bike traffic. But they space them such that emergency vehicles can get through, but there's signage that it's not a through road. And that prevents your parking and loitering issue of people going down those roads. So they're spaced such a part, we still get a fire truck through, you can still use the road for single lane traffic. But it prevents it, it's enough of an inhibitor that people aren't driving around them to go park down the road.
Bob?
I've been driving around this building for 10 years, enforcing parking and stuff like that. Who says that all these people can even read that are driving? That's a good point.
They just let here.
well, that's why we got to put the barriers in place. Can't just say,
There would be a lot of flags and signage, and I believe in order to close the road, you have to put signs out saying that the road is gonna be closed and
yeah.
a certain amount of period ahead of time, and hopefully people kind of get the drift before. Flying around the corner and being like, oh, it's closed.
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be no change in traffic patterns is going to be met without resistance. Nothing you do is gonna make everybody happy. There will be somebody that complains about this, but we have a lot of folks from Washington Ave here that all seem to be in support of it, so. I think it makes sense. I think it actually provides a benefit to the wide broader village, not just the folks that live on the street. It stops people from using the village as a cut through in general, so I see this as being broader than just, and people will start using the bypass, which is what they should be using, so. I think the next step is basically to figure out a couple gates are gonna cost and do it.
My goal for this meeting is to get those report.
Decision, and you might wanna tell everybody else on the street, maybe, or.
Everyone, it's been posted on Facebook, emails went out to everybody, letters went out, I cannot do any more. I have refused to bang on doors and.
We can send a letter out if people want, say, starting June 1st. Washington Ave is closed, you can host a little block party if you want.
Oh, yeah. First one, beer Frank.
Go ahead.
Let me find out what the requisite mechanics are, doing what we want to do before we talk about sending out letters.
Yes. And we probably need like a local law on this, but yes, so investigate, yes,
Let me figure it out.
yeah, okay. I think you might have executive power to just make it so, Gary.
I can call. I can call your.
Yeah.
You can close,
I can close roads temporarily, 300.
we may not close the road.
300.
That we may close it to motorized traffic, as long as we leave it open for pedestrian and bicycle.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Golf carts.
To ground before the next meeting.
Thank you.
What happens with plowing?
Washington Avenue North, close that up. I was told that'd make everybody use bypass.
You're right, with Goldfoot and Washington. One step at a time, let's see if we can do it on the north.
Village off, everybody has to drive.
I had suggested making it a toll road and then just giving everybody the residents the toll pass.
Golf carts only.
Yeah. Let's start with this.
I'm super excited about it, it's beyond, I'm so happy, but, and I don't wanna throw any issues in, but when I think about it, what about in the winter plowing, it just gets snowy, what happens?
So if there's a gate key,
Yeah.
DPW can get out, they can unlock the gate, they could plow the road. And it could get locked up behind.
Okay, so
They do that already in Cleveland.
they do, okay,
Because if it's a road with access being maintained for emergency responses. It needs to be plowed regularly.
yeah, I didn't know that, okay, great.
Was the Jersey barrier solution that you were talking about would allow a plow to get through?
Yeah. Yeah, because the thing without the road that's done on, yes. It's built so you can get a commercial vehicle through, you have to go slow, and that's the whole point of it, is that obviously your road is closed, so it's still accessible. It's usually done on the farm country roads, so farmers can still access their fields, but it closes the roads and through traffic. So it's usually built such you get a fire truck, a plow truck, you can get those through but it's closed at one end, so it allows you to get your pedestrians and golf carts through as well.
If people can get through, they will go through.
Yeah,
I mean, they try all the time to get through.
I mean, they use the Zim Smith to drive on sometimes.
Well, we have that, people driving.
I've seen them.
We'll try our best to do this.
Isn't there something with school buses?
I like the breakaway, I mean, honestly.
Yeah, we'll look into that.
All righty. That's it for me. Anything else? Well, thank you all. We shall keep you
Give me a fly.
I just like for my sunglasses in the cut. Weird. I love you, I miss you.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that, or you know, from.
I mean, well, that's, I mean, that's. Now we have the focus. We got the focus. Now we can. Working. No, that's the scene. And then I think.